So I know when you clicked on this video, you probably thought, oh god, another Kingdom Hearts 2 video essay. I haven't seen one of these before. And while I was thinking about that while I was making this video, I thought to myself, Kingdom Hearts 2 for the last 20 years now, yes, it's been that long, has had its praises sung about it by the community, by outsiders, by one-time players, over and over and over again, regarded as one of the best games of its generation. So what could I possibly say about it that hasn't been said before? And I thought about that. I was like, well, maybe it's not about saying something different. Maybe it's about understanding all those things that people said that make the game what it is, about why that resonates with us as fans. And 20 years later, looking back and how much this game still has so much of a deep impact on me. So what I really want to do is I just want to sing the praises of this game, yes, obviously, but I want to really analyze what makes Kingdom Hearts 2 special. You'll have to forgive me over the course of that because I'm very clearly sick, so you're gonna hear a very disgusting voice the entire time. Just bad timing. I guess I should have did this video earlier, but hey, listen, we're doing it now, so I just wanted to get into a quick deep dive about it. This video is going to be unscripted because I hate reading off scripts because I have to write the script, and then by the time I finish writing the script, I don't feel like making the video anyway. Plus, I still mess up my lines anyway, so I'd rather just do this from the heart. But with that being said, even though the video is going to be unscripted, I still think it's better to go about this piece by piece. So I want to be breaking down each aspect of Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion, that make it special. There are, like I said, videos that go way more in depth about the intricate mechanics and lore of Kingdom Hearts. Unfortunately, this won't be one of those videos. I really do just want to talk about how all of those pieces that come together in Kingdom Hearts 2 make the game special, and more so what it was like growing up in that time period and experiencing that, and how that carried over the course of 20 years. You know, Kingdom Hearts 1 was, in my opinion, this idea of childlike wonder, where, you know, the idea as a kid of going off on an adventure with your friends and, you know, doing whatever you want and conquering the world and seeing absolute magic. It's something out of a Disney movie for sure, obviously. It's, you know, a Disney product. And, you know, at a certain point, you have to have this extension of disbelief where, you know, this 14-year-old kid is going from world to world with Donald and Goofy, and they're beating up bad guys, and, you know, they don't ever really encounter any real problems other than, you know, some ideas of like a little bit of loneliness or something like that. And I think Kingdom Hearts 1 has its own magic, but I really do feel like Kingdom Hearts 2, while it does have some of that magic and wonder, the thing that really makes it stand out is this grounded feeling of growing up and being confused and growing up in the world that you didn't understand before, and how those confusing feelings shape you into who you think you're supposed to be and who you actually are, and just the idea of, you know, how scary it is to grow up in the world. And I don't think that any of the Kingdom Hearts game really captures that feeling. I think that, you know, when we grow up, you know, it's a very scary feeling because you just don't know what the future holds. You know, this idea of when you're a kid, you know, you're you know, protected by your parents, so you don't really have to face the world. But as you get older and you start getting more independence and responsibility, you know, and you develop your own friendships, you really do become your own person, and you start feeling feelings you've never felt before. And I think that's what, the journey that Roxas goes through as he becomes his own person. He literally starts off, as a nobody in the organization, without really having his own feelings, and then he ends up, developing feelings over time, and then eventually, he loses the memory, but then he becomes this person on his own, and he's just hanging out with his friends, and they're worried about summer vacation and the homework, and that's like the biggest thing to them, because when we were that age, that was the biggest thing to us, is homework and summer vacation. How can we enjoy our summer vacation and make the most of it? And looking back at it, that just resonated with me so much as a kid, versus other stories like Kingdom Hearts 1, which is definitely it has its story about growing pains, but it's more so about like embracing being a child, rather than, okay, well, I'm a kid and I love magic. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is about like, hey, I'm still a kid, but my body's growing, my mind is changing. I'm seeing the world differently. The passage of time scares me because I don't know who I'm gonna be. I think the key defining aspect of Kingdom Hearts 2 would have to be its combat. This is what absolutely makes the game, and it's what it's most known for. And I don't think that any other game comes close to the fluidity of the combat in this game, even though some other games have better aspects. I think overall, as a game itself, Kingdom Hearts 2's gameplay is just absolutely the best. And yeah, as a kid, I played on beginner mode. I was just mashing X and triangle to win. But I think as I've gotten older, my knowledge and skills of the game have grown as well. And I've learned a deeper, richer understanding of exactly how the game works. I've never done a level 1 run, but a lot of people say that that's truly where the game shines. However, I think that just the way the game is designed in itself, including the reaction commands, I think that is truly how the game really shines more than anything else. There's just so many mechanics between the magic, the drive system, the summon gauge, the limits, the different keyblades you can use, the different combo modifiers you can use. There are some skills that you'd want to have in situations that you wouldn't want to have in other situations. For example, having a longer combo sometimes could be more detrimental to how you interact with a boss versus other encounters where you might want to, try to get as much hits out as possible in between your enemy's attacks. I don't understand, when people say, oh, it's just press X to win. Yeah, I can understand the sentiment behind that, but there are plenty of games like that allow you to do so. They might have a deeper combat system, but not a lot of the games that I've played incentivize you to explore those deeper combat options. And Kingdom Hearts honestly is no different in that regard. I don't know a handful of people that actively choose to use summons, even though they are some of the more powerful things in the game. And there are a lot of limits in the game. They sometimes get used in the final mix, but once again, these are something that a lot of people probably wouldn't feel the need to use to get through the game, and I think that's fine. I think that the game has so many different avenues and aspects that allow you to express yourself in the way that you want to, that it's honestly fine, because there is a system here. There is a combat system here. The skills are very easily defined, understood. The magic itself, if you choose to use reflect, you don't have to, but it is a helpful tool. Same thing with magnet. I know a lot of pro players absolutely stand by magnet. It's not something that I use personally all the time in combat, but it's just one of those things that it gives the player the freedom of choice. And to go hand in hand with that combat system, the music of this game is absolutely beautiful. It doesn't matter which area you're at, what stage you're on, whether you're in combat or out of combat, the music that goes along is just, it's inspiring, it's breathtaking. It feels like the passion is like absolutely there whenever you're in any moment. And the fact that they even took the time to remix the soundtrack for the 1.5 and the 2.5 collections shows how deeply passionate they are about this. I mean, just listen to this soundtrack I'm gonna insert here. This is one of my favorite combat soundtracks that it gets me inspired every single time I hear it. There are so many people that are better at explaining these things than I am. I unfortunately just don't have the knowledge to go in depth about the intricacies of the combat. So unfortunately, I won't be discussing frame rates with you in this video. But I think that this is one of those things that you're better experiencing than you are hearing someone talk to you about it. It's really just comes down to the fluidity and the way the combat flows in each scenario, where the enemy, they have their preset moves, and how Sora chooses to engage with them, whether it's on the ground or in the air, and how your teammates also, the way you preset them to behave. It really, especially when you're comparing it to other Kingdom Hearts games, it's really no other game out there like it. And I think that it's something for all ages, where as a kid I was able to just mash away, and I felt like I was alive and active. I think more than any other game, when you're in the combat, you really feel part of it, and that's mostly due to the reaction commands. Not just in boss fights, but almost every enemy in the game has their own personal reaction command, and it allows you to move in a way that you're normally not able to as a player. So you feel like Sora is just basically dancing around the battlefield in this sort of disrespectful way, where he's taking the enemy's weapons and he's jumping on top of them and he's beating them upside the head. No other game allows you to feel that way because of the reaction commands. It really feels like Sora is coming into his own here, where in Kingdom Hearts 1, you move around, but you're quite slow. Not saying that's anything bad, but it's definitely more grounded. Whereas in this version, Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora is definitely zipping around, and his attacks feel a lot more impactful. Even the way Sora taunts the enemy and says it's over. That type of that energy, you just don't feel that anywhere else. It not even in Kingdom Hearts 3, compared to this, Sora, just the way he just acts, it really feels for its time. It feels like it's very appropriate. This is a 15-year-old kid, and he's growing into his own abilities. It just feels perfect. Just some of my favorite call outs I'm gonna play here.
It's over. Take this. This is it. Back off. Okay. Give me strength, light, let's go, fire, freeze, thunder, heal, gather, defense.
Hearing those over and over, it feels so nostalgic to hear, because it all of it comes together to make this perfect atmosphere of just pure combat. And I think that's why Kingdom Hearts 2 shines the most. I think the characters of Kingdom Hearts 2 are also really special. They're really not quite like anything else I've really encountered. And that's because they're going through something that's a bit abstract. It's not something that you can really put into words, but it's really just the feeling of growing up and how confusing that is. Like at one point we were all kids, and that awkward phase of being a kid into a preteen into a teenager, you really just don't understand a lot of things. And I think Kingdom Hearts 2 really perfectly captures that feeling, because you grow up and you're watching Disney, and at the back of your mind you see all these older kids and you want to be just like them, but you also want to enjoy your childhood, but you also don't really know who you are yet, and you're still trying to figure that out, and it's a little scary. You almost really don't feel like an individual. You're still under your parents. You might have an older sibling and you kind of want to be like them, or you have like this idea of like the looming idea of responsibilities, and you don't fully understand what that is. And I think that someone like Roxas, who's such a tragic character in his own right, to be told like, yeah, you should have never been born, you don't really exist, is something that just speaks to me. Because growing up, you want to get older, but you don't really know what getting older really means. And you watch cartoons, but then at a certain point in your life you have to like pick up this responsibility, and you didn't really ask to be here, but that doesn't really matter because life is coming at you anyway. And in those moments where Roxas is just trying to enjoy a summer vacation and save up a lot of money to buy ice cream, that's really what it feels like to grow up, where it's like you're trying to like hold on to those types of moments with your friends where you don't really have any other responsibility, because like at that moment getting money for ice cream is the most important thing in the world to you. And looking back at it, it really is like moments like that in life that you felt like were the end of the world to you, and they're so small and insignificant you don't really think about them now. But someone like Roxas, this is his whole existence at this point, and you have other people trying to tell him that those feelings that he has aren't his, they're someone else's. And you could say that's like a metaphor for like expectations parents have on you to like be someone you're not. So like whatever you think that you feel, like that's not actually like what you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to like want to be, I don't know, someone who's more goal oriented or something like that. And I just get that. And then you have someone who like Naminé, who she also is in the same position as Roxas, but she has like a little bit more clarity on things, where she understands this is the way things are, we aren't supposed to exist. And it really feels like two people, whenever they're around each other, Roxas and Naminé, of just like two people who just like they're a bit scared and confused about how the way the world is, and they don't know what they're doing, but they're still trying to navigate and be their own people at the end of the day. And I think that's really interesting, because in contrast to that, you have someone like Sora, who's just like this beacon of light, and we always have that person that's like just a ball of energy. But even then, deep down, Sora himself is a bit insecure. Without his friends, he really doesn't have a lot going for him. And the same could be said for a lot of us, is that we have people in our lives that are very important to us, that we would do anything for, but take all of that away, and it's like who do we have, like what do we have at the end of the day of all that? And I think that Sora's like that deep down insecurity that he has, that like he needs his friends or else he won't have anything. It's something that's like very apparent, in the moments that he's always thinking about his friends and he's always trying to, be there for them. And it's something that, I think the big part of growing up is like trying to hold on to your friendships, because it's scary. Sometimes you're gonna have to go out there by yourself and do things by yourself, and that type of stuff is really scary. It's nice to have people on your side. And in contrast to that, you have Riku. And Riku is this guy that's like, was super cringe when he was younger, and he's really trying to make up for his mistakes, and he still doesn't feel like he's worthy of forgiveness. So he tries to stay in the shadows and stay hidden. But at the end of the day, you gotta like forgive that part of you and try to like move on to like, a better direction. And I think that's what the whole point of like Riku having like what the road to the dawn, or the way to the dawn keyblade. And it's very interesting to see someone like be so remorseful and try to like make up for their mistakes, and try to become a better person because of that. And I just think that that's such an interesting aspect to have in like a kid's game, of like, a character who made mistakes but like is ready to like atone for those sins. And I think it's so interesting too about like a lot of the adults in the game, because they try to tell like the children who they are and what they should be. And a lot of times like the organization, when they'll call Sora Roxas, like they call him something that he's not, because they're like, oh well, that's that's who's on the inside of you. And it's really not, because Sora and Roxas are two different people. That's what the game tries to teach you. And you have someone like Diz. When I was younger, Diz or Ansem, right, it was kind of scary to me, because it's like this like adult figure, and he's just pulling all the strings, and he's trying to tell Roxas like who he is and how he should feel, and that his feelings aren't justified, but like those are the feelings that Roxas feel. So I think it is really interesting how at a certain point the game in a way is about teenagers fighting against these adults who try to like tell them what emotions are and how to feel, because as a kid they say you're naive, you don't understand these things, but at the end of the day you're still a person who feels these things. And I think Kingdom Hearts does a really beautiful job of highlighting that that Naminé is a person who feels. Roxas is his own person who feels. He's not just a part of Sora. Riku is a person who, he made mistakes, and he's actually sorry about that. He's willing to atone. And I think that's just, something that's so beautiful about Kingdom Hearts 2 that I really appreciate. It's why I never really get tired of the story, and how I still get emotional hearing like the music well up, going back to the music. Hearing the music well up, and then the characters, their emotions get high. I felt what they were feeling when I was growing up, and I still feel those emotions today, because they still resonate with me in a certain way. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video. Like I said, I'm not the type of guy to do super in-depth analysis about gameplay mechanics or like story themes. I don't have the production value for that, honestly. I just wanted to get on here and talk about what I feel like made the game special, the things that really resonated with me. Maybe I could have said them better, but I don't know. I just wanted to speak from the heart. But I really do appreciate everyone that watches these videos. I do need to start posting more longer videos on the channel, but for now, check out my shorts, check out my social media pages. Close to 1,000 subscribers, but just gotta take it one day at a time, I guess. But if you managed to get this far into the video, I didn't think anyone was gonna watch this in the first place, to be honest. But I did just want to do something for Kingdom Hearts 2, so I could say that I did something for the 20th anniversary. So thank you guys so much for watching. So late developers, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Everyone! I need you all to lend me your energy!